Hello and welcome to the Wonkette Weekend Live Chat. I am Robin Pinocchia, and this is the lovely and talented Stephen Robinson.
Hello, Robin. How are you? How was your morning?
Things are okay. This morning was, a morning. People
so,
are very loud next door to me, so I live
that
next door to a soccer bar. So
is that worse or better than being essentially above a bowling alley? That old trope. So,
honestly, I don't know.
so you had written about the end, sort of this crack cocaine disparity in
After only
prostitution.
36 years.
Can you? Because I think it's
Uh,
very relevant still, and so in case anyone didn't catch that story.
so quick explanation. Um, Back in 1986, now President Biden crafted a very terrible bill that punished crack use way like in federal prison sentencing far, far, far more harshly than cocaine. And it was obvious to literally every single human being at that time that it was an extremely racist policy. I mean, as far as I knew, I don't think anyone was like, no, this just makes absolute sense because, you know, sure, they're the exact same drug, but rich people do one um, more commonly. And after 36 years, uh, that has changed, and they are no longer going to be punishing uh, selling crack more than selling cocaine, which is, it's something. Um, like I said, I would like to say, like, hey, this means you can always go back and fix your mistakes, but it's good to say that you made a mistake and to fix it, but you can't.
No, I mean,
I guess that's as much as
damage has been done.
yeah.
Yeah, it just I think reminds many of us of the Whitney Houston's infamous interview where she said crack is whack
Hmm.
and crack is a poor person's drug. How dare you presume that I'm on crack? And she actually probably was on crack.
Look, I love Whitney. I will not stand for any.
I love all of Whitney. I was discussing Whitney with a professional colleague of mine last night, and just the sort of I find her quite fascinating, but it includes the obviously the less pleasant aspects of her career and life, personal life. Yeah, so this is what's the opposition towards making that
I
fixing that?
actually
Is there
don't know. I really don't, and I really do think it's like one area in which I am fairly ignorant. Um, I do think that it would be great if we had some retroactivity there, where like people weren't just going to have to continue to like serve their terribly ridiculously long sentences in federal prison. I don't. I mean, I guess it's just the only thing that I could really say is that like maybe back in the 80s, which I wasn't so much cognizant of at the time, people are all like, "Oh my God, the crack epidemic! Everyone's doing crack." But it was considered like fancy for rich stockbrokers to do cocaine in bathrooms. Again, I am very much getting this from watching movies. Like, I don't so,
well, I mean, and they were
like, and
probably less likely to be caught with cocaine or whatever. I remember being out with some folks in the publishing world. One lady was very well off, more so than what publishing would pay. And we're going to a club, and she has like this purse, and in her purse is a vial of coke. And it's just scary, right? Because I
yeah,
don't want to be anywhere part. I don't want to be. I'll be
yeah.
busted as her dealer or something, And I'll have to do her time for her. So I wanted no part of that. But yes, I mean, it's one of the things that's clearly racist and has racist implications, but there's always some sort of they find some explanation. Usually on Fox, they'll find some Black person to explain why it's a good thing
Yeah.
that it's a good thing that those
Because
guys
I
did that.
don't know that there aren't that many people left who are like, it was a great idea, the drug war. That worked out fabulously. Like, I don't even are there
Yeah,
people saying that?
I think so. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
guess.
the response to perceived in many ways real rising crime in New York and San Francisco,
Oh, true. Yeah.
here in Portland, is that there's no accountability or consequence. So, and they link it to progressive prosecutors and to
Yeah.
decriminalization of drugs, and so they are the sense of arrest a lot of people
Yeah. No,
and
you're
whatever.
right. You're right.
And but I
It's
mean,
just hard to
I'm
like
all for
imagine
consequence.
the
I
thought
think
process.
I think people with drug addictions or drug problems, especially fentanyl, should get treatment. And we should
Yes.
have senses of the consequence should be treatment. And if you find someone who's right and you treat them and you deal with them that way, part of the problem is the larger, you can't really discuss even sort of our drug policies, criminal wise, without discussing the larger system of our criminal justice system is designed to ruin lives.
Yeah.
So if it's Jeffrey Dahmer, okay, let's ruin this guy's life. But essentially, once someone goes to prison, um, their
You're
chance
fucking
of
up their
living
life.
living a normal life, you're definitely not going to get sober in prison, and you're definitely not going to live. We don't want to hire people with any sort of criminal conviction. We don't want them living in our neighborhoods. We don't want them. So they essentially wind up becoming marginalized, second class citizens. So, of course, increased recidivism. We don't view it as we've, oh, you've gone to prison, we fixed it sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, that is the
No,
larger
because our
problem.
entire system is like retributive. Like it's all just like we're just gonna like really punish people and get our rocks off that way, and then just set them free and everything will be fine. Well, I mean, to the point where they're still on probation for several years, which actually can be just as damaging. Like
Mhm.
both probation and parole can be like damaging in a different way. I know a lot of people who have like purposely been like, I'd rather take, a week in jail than, however many years on parole because you're just kind of fucked for all of the, you can't, it's extremely stressful either way, and it doesn't actually help anyone. And yeah, I guess they are, because they're just, I think they're running out of material.
Well, Mike Lee, I saw today that Mike Lee was, and I think this is something that JD Vance, an incoming senator in Ohio, and some other very boring men are promoting, is the idea of criminalizing internet porn,
Oh yeah,
um,
they're really obsessed with that lately.
which they believe, I think Josh Hawley had written that somehow because of internet porn, men are being men and aren't. It's always, and this goes back, I remember Ted Bundy, before he was executed, one of his interviews was giving a quite self-serving argument that he used internet porn and or not, obviously the internet didn't
Oh
exist,
no.
but he used pornography, the old-fashioned hammer and chisel form, and he's that pornography, and that turned him into a social, a psychopath who murdered women. And it's possible
No,
that
in
he was a
general,
psychopath
Republicans
who
have
murdered
always
women.
been very angry about sex and people having it and who aren't them. Like,
Um, yeah, and the demonization of sex workers, and as much as I am not a fan of horseshoe theory, it's like there's a sort of fundamentalism that goes from these guys to some forms of extreme feminists who believe
well,
that
I mean,
any
yeah,
form
that
of
was like the porn wars in the 80s, which I do remember, more so than the other stuff, which is a weird thing to say, but it was a big topic in my household, as was the crack coke thing. I just never, personally, I mean, I didn't watch porn when I was a kid, but I also did not see anyone doing cocaine that I know of.
It's
But
just
I
such a
mean, it's possible they were doing it at my ballet class. I don't know. I actually generally do not get invited when people are doing cocaine because I think that in general people think like, she doesn't really need that.
no, we
Like
don't wanna get
no
involved.
one looks at me and is like, it would be better.
Probably pot, maybe, like, could you
Yeah,
show
something like, there no one's like, oh, that this lady needs cocaine is what she needs.
uh
Although it would probably put me to sleep, I think. I don't know. Like,
I mean, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is going off on a tear. I don't know if you saw that about CVS and others. The interesting thing about her and many Republicans is first you have to, it's tiresome because first you have to like actually research the thing they're angry about exists,
yeah.
right? Like
Well,
generally,
because
like
most of the time it does not.
because generally, like often the very sort of rules of engagement, Republicans will be angry about something, but it's like, okay, well, black people exist and
Yeah.
live in cities. And now I can start from that background of like they should still live in cities and freely exist and queer people. But here it's like, I don't know, she's like talking about dinosaurs or something running down the streets. It's like, okay, well, before I get on whether that's good or bad, should I actually find out if she actually knows that she's just making stuff up? But I do. I mean, I guess her issue, and again, I haven't again done the research of whether or not she's but that is it true or not. But her argument is like CVS and they're selling sex toys
Oh,
next
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
next to Archie comics or something in the
No, there's
stores,
no
and
connection to
it's
condoms.
horrible.
Like, are there like, okay, if your kid is going into like the condom section of CVS,
Well, and
are they
there's
going to know what condoms are more than they're going to know what a butt plug is? I don't think
well,
so.
the sex repressives are sort of that children being in the same room with butt plugs,
Yeah,
even though they don't know it. It's fine if like these, Walmart selling guns or something. And like, of course, guns are good. And being photographed with my child holding a gun, which they probably should not legally be doing or morally doing, in Christmas cards, which, every year we have Republicans doing that and going all over their gun fetish. That's fine. But I don't, how many school children have died because of butt plugs? Like someone came back angry, started throwing butt plugs in the school. That would be hilarious, and we would all laugh.
yeah.
Instead, they're getting guns. Guns are the problem, and these, gun lovers are just, these
I mean,
same people,
I,
these deaf.
I will say I've heard some stories. As you know, my mom worked in an emergency room, so I have heard
Yes, these are the million and one
some
shot.
unfortunate stories involving not butt plugs because they have, the bottoms that make, I've heard worse stories about other objects.
No, yeah.
Better the children. Sorry.
No, well, that's anyone doctors I've known, like they appreciate that's part of the training. It's like, okay, just so you know, you've been trained to be a doctor, but a good bit of your time we're removing stuff in people's ass that
Yeah.
shouldn't be there. I'm sorry. People are what they are. It's kind of whatever you deal with the public. There's some sort of like, I'm sorry. The sort of the end of the innocence. They play Don Henley's song and explain to you how human beings are. Like when you worked in retail, it's like, okay, well, here's what people are going to be like. It's like, really? Yes, I'm sorry. So it's
No, this is true, really. I mean, kids aren't like, oh man, let me go looking at condoms. And even if they are, like, I don't.
no, because no one, I mean, they don't watch TV shows where modeling is a big problem with kids. So often you're going to see kids with guns or
Yeah.
gun-shaped
No one's.
items, and so that's what they think is cool. But no one, they don't understand butt
They're
plugs.
not
They
like,
still
hey
don't understand.
kids, go get some butt plugs.
I don't want to do that. So it's just, I don't know. Marcella Green's the worst person. Well, because again, if I was writing a character like her, I would be, it's like in the comic books. Our friend Michael Moore will understand this. So, Dr. Doom can't be a racist. They would have a moment where he's not a racist because he's a bad guy, but he's not racist. He's not this. And so that's how you create fully fledged characters. Because if someone is like the worst possible human, it's not interesting. But Marcella Green is the worst. It's not even like she's suddenly like pro sex while also all
No.
this other stuff, which is how she would have been written in a show like a kind of 1980s wacky Marge type show. There's like at least one episode where she's on some sort of the side of good at one place, some very special episode. There is no such
No,
aspect of
no,
it. She is
no.
always going to be on the side of the worst possible, which is somewhat, I almost feel sorry
The
for
thing
her if she
that
wasn't
kills me
Marjorie
though
Taylor
is that
Greene.
they're like so afraid that kids are gonna, oh my God, kids are gonna find out what a butt plug is. Kids are gonna find out what sex is. Kids come up with way worse explanations for what sex is than what sex actually is. If I recall correctly, there was a girl in 2nd grade who went around telling everyone that babies were made by a boy peeing in your belly button.
Mm,
Okay? That is objectively worse
that's
and like far like kinkier, frankly, than a butt plug. Like that's on a higher level. I think that's like, you're getting to like German shit there.
To Darren's previous question, yes, the Red Skull was frequently presented in Marvel Comics as worse than Doctor Doom because the Red Skull was a Nazi and a white supremacist, and Doctor Doom was not. And he was actually, I think, of Romani heritage, of at the time called Gypsy, and so of course he would have his own reasons for being issues with Nazis. So back in
At
the
some
day,
point, we're
where
just going to have to get Michael to come on here to be like, I know what you're talking about, Steven, instead of me
but
being like,
but not, generally speaking, there was a time when Nazis were overtly the worst thing that you could be. I think now a character like the Red Skull, who was a Nazi, who had worked with Hitler, a character like that would sort of be speaking at CPAC. A lot of, I think Michael has written a story where a lot of juxtaposing Red Skull speeches with actual CPAC speeches, and they're completely similar as far as white supremacist, says white, great replacement type stuff. It's kind of scary. So, Marjorie Taylor Greene, her war against CVS and butt plugs.
they're just getting absolutely absurd at this point now. Like they're rehashing all of their old arguments, but making them crazier.
Well, it's sort of like I get the script and it's like, well, why is Marjorie Taylor Greene playing the, prissy suburban PTA mom this week? Like that's not
But that's
who
actually been
she
a whole
is.
thing with like the like Gen Z fascists, where they're just super, super anti-sex in general, like the Groypers and what have you. Like they're all like obsessed with the whole like no fap thing where they don't masturbate. They're all like the Proud Boys are not allowed to masturbate.
Is it
That's the
because
whole thing.
is it because they can't even turn
And you can
themselves
see the
on?
look my roommate is giving me right now. Katie says she finds it amusing.
Y'all are on fire.
She says we are.
Thank you, special guest Katie. But it is that's bizarre.
Oh yeah, no, their whole thing is like no sex. And I assume it's like my personal theory is that it has something to do with the fact that they're probably really bad at it.
But banning internet porn.
Fact.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you, Leah. Can't they none of this banning internet porn is not going to end inflation or stop the go. It's just
No,
a sense of
they're just latching onto anything to see what sticks.
Democrats get hammered a lot from people like James Carville and a lot of the the centrists, both who visit our page and online, and they insist that Democrats are obsessed with culture wars. We only would just stop talking about culture wars and queerness and all of this, we could win every election, even in Alabama. And it just doesn't. That's not what's happening. We don't. Democrats don't do that. It's Republicans who actually run on these things, and they run on them even when they don't work. So,
yeah,
James Carville, who no one should be listening to, he was like, it's like been 30 years. It's like if you had someone who's only had produced one hit in the early night, like I produced the Macarena, but I'm still going to talk about music. Like, why are you on my TV show talking about this is what music should be now? It's like, all right, fine. It
Well,
should be
I
like
think that's what they
Barbie
do with
Girl for the
comedy. Let's be
1990s.
real. That's what they all do with comedy. They're all like, this was funny in the 1990s, but you couldn't do it now because we have an entirely different culture and it's no longer relevant or funny.
Yeah.
Like,
So James
sorry,
Carville
you can't do your big number on airplane food anymore.
he was obsessed about the fact that Democrats, particularly people who he didn't understand or didn't know, were crazy woke, and that woke garbage, as he calls it, was going to cost us elections or whatever. And they've done studies. Huffington Post just released one recently, which is just, and he'll never apologize, by the way, because he's a white guy, but he'll never apologize and say he's wrong, admit he's wrong on TV, that no, they've done the studies running on critical race theory and wokeness, and it did not move the needle, and that most voters cared more about, they were actually more like, actually book burning seems more Nazi-like than having books. And we don't like persecuting groups or pretending racism doesn't exist and attacking queer people. We actually don't think that that's going to create jobs for us. And I think from this message, Democrats could, run more strongly on the sense of protecting people and standing up for their rights, and and calling out the fact of like, they haven't even taken office yet, and they're coming for your porn and your and your butt plugs. And that's a very ambitious agenda. You don't even have that grid of, you've got only a bare majority in the House. You don't have the Senate, and you're coming after sort of Hunter Biden's laptop and going after internet porn.
This is the thing.
Even though
oh my God, they're going to teach the children about sex, but also we need to be able to post Hunter Biden's dick on Twitter.
Yes.
They hate porn, but they need their pictures of Hunter Biden's dick.
That is actually internet porn.
And
that's why it wasn't released.
But I don't care about, I'm a woman. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not anywhere near as excited about pictures of his dick as Marjorie Taylor Greene is, clearly.
Well, their belief was that somehow was going to turn the election.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It is sort of this denial of how reality works, and this insistence that the election would have.
Oh, yeah.
That Trump would have won had Americans seen Hunter Biden's penis. You would think it'd be the reverse, in which you would say, like, if Biden had lost, you'd be like, if only people had seen my son's penis, it had been so spellbound, they would have voted for me, and he would have been upset about that. But the other side is like, I don't see how running the opposition's, it's not even, Joe Biden's penis. It's his son's penis. It's like a penis, and once removed, it's not necessarily a pardon expression, smoking gun. So that concludes today's.
We're done calling it a day. Stephen won the live chat with that.
So I wrote about this earlier today, and I have to say I was disappointed that you had not covered it earlier. I'd wanted to see your response. I expected this to have been in Friday's Wonkette, about Kirsten Sinema selling her stinky crap used.
I saw that.
What is I just love you cannot write this. She's not, I know a lot of people who use Facebook's buy nothing, my wife being one of them, of like, but not used clothing items, but often a lot of stuff used, coat drives. We love to do that. Here's some coat, but like, she's selling her stuff.
I guess we don't technically know for a fact that it's her, but it's obviously her.
Oh, it was confirmed.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Someone at the Arizona Mirror confirmed that it was in fact her. She's selling.
The main thing that bothers me is that I have like really similar shoes to the ones that she was selling, and that just made me worry for myself as a person.
Do you have any you wish to sell right now? We could turn the rest of the live chat over to you selling anything you wish to sell before the holiday season. It's such a
I
weird
mean,
idea.
honestly, Stephen, I only have 3 closets worth of clothes, and so I mean, I'm running at a minimum. No, I'm a terrible person, and I feel really bad about my clothes hoarding. It's bad for the environment and also
You called it
everything.
clothes hoarding, you called it?
Yeah, I have a problem. It's not good.
You just, I mean, you just wear it and you keep wearing it until it's no longer. That's not bad, right?
Yeah. No, oh no, not that. I'm just saying, like, I need to stop purchasing clothes.
Ah, yes.
Like,
People had noted in the article that actually worse than her selling shoes she would have worn without hose or anything like that would be the used cycle kit. So anyone who cycles knows it's kind of very intimate. uh it's just very interesting because she makes why aren't you giving, but it's weird, like the stuff she's selling is also somewhat useless. It's not something you could give to the needy and have them actually be like, okay, thanks. It's like, what do I do with all this quirky crap? It's like, all right. But yeah, she's a
I mean, I actually do think that people, instead of selling, I mean, the reselling of clothes is great and everything, but I honestly do think that people need to also give some of their good clothes to
yes,
actual thrift shops, because one of the big problems is becoming that, like, all of the good clothes that people could actually wear to work and stuff are being resold, and for not that much less than
oh yeah,
they were
which is
sold
what
for.
she's doing.
And like,
Which
well,
is
no,
what she's doing,
yeah,
and that's crappy. I am all for. If it makes no sense that you're a sitting senator, it seems like
like,
um,
you don't have to just
it seems like a slam dunk, right?
like
A
give
sitting
that money
senator,
or give those clothes that people can actually wear to work to an actual thrift store,
yes,
so that
giving that
people,
away would
yeah,
be a sort of a slam dunk as a politician of like, oh, here's my, and oh, you just discovered that I'm
yeah, I
someone
don't
who gives away
resell
stuff or whatever.
any of my stuff. I always just give it away because, there's like nothing left in a lot of thrift stores, honestly.
She could give that away. Instead, she just sort of sells a lot of it and claims it's like was too big for her. And I don't. Yeah, I don't know why she would not just. Well, part of it also is that it's a lot of it's useless. So some of her more quirky stuff is not
Yeah,
something that a
I
a
guess if we're
normal
like,
person
I'm going
could
to be a
wear.
fancy cycling person, then that's
Well,
one thing.
many isn't there sort of there is an inherent privilege to a lot of the outfits you wore.
Oh yeah,
So they're not anything you could sell. Like even um, a first year or second year or any sort of year lawyer, a pantsuit can be given to anyone at any level, and that could help that woman get a job somewhere
yeah,
or go for an
exactly.
interview. But her quirky stuff is not
Yeah,
anything you couldn't walk into for your temp job in that outfit and be taken seriously. So it's a sort of privilege of her stuff is like, unless it's sort of her spin on the Carrie Bradshaw
I
collection.
mean, I can't real like. I mean, I'm sitting here in a very roughly sweater. It's like it's.
Yes, but I mean, yes, I mean, but I think there's a sense of a privilege. A lot of cinema stuff is not anything
Yeah,
that a normal person could hope to wear and be taken seriously, fairly or not. The world is what
yeah.
it is. I'm usually criticized for ever pointing out that the world is unfair. It's one of those weird things. People get very upset when I do that. I can't help it. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
No, I don't know how to dress normal. Like, I really don't. One of the funnier moments of my life was when I was a teenager and I had to go work at Bausch and Lomb for the summer where my dad worked, in order to pay for the car that I drove into the house.
Mhm.
Um, while after having taken a lot of ecstasy and like, it was not a good scene. It was just like a normal 17-year-old thing that you do. But anyway,
Indeed.
my mom and I were like, how do we, like, I had to go and like get like business casual clothes. So my mom and I were like, we don't know how to do this at all for any reason. So we went into the Gap and we were like, please help us. We don't know how normal people dress. And I I came out with things that involved floral prints, and I was like so proud of myself. And then I got in trouble for wearing a bra strap headband. Because this guy who worked for my dad was like, "Oh, Robin is wearing underwear." But it was like an adjustable headband that looked like a bra strap, and they were called bra strap headbands. They were very trendy in in that era. Sorry, I'm just like going very off topic, but yeah, I don't know how to dress like a normal person. I would have a lot of difficulty sustaining an office job, I think.
Yeah, I mean, some people in office, they've become a bit more flexible about how folks can dress and so forth. But yes, often it's sort of, which is in many ways silly, right? Like, long, just do your job, and it's, I don't care. I think my issue, and this came up with Cinema a lot when she would be dressing like doing the Aaron Neville cosplay and stuff like that, was sort of, I don't know. It felt like she wasn't lifting anyone up. She was sort of snubbing her privilege, kind of rubbing her privilege in other people's faces. It was sort of like, I can get away with this, as opposed to, you know, um, and it's not even quite anywhere near the same, but, Ayanna Presley, who of course dresses amazingly and
Yeah,
professionally, but shaving her hair, being like, this should not be something that
she
Black
actually did
women
not
go
shave
through.
her hair. She
She
has,
lost it,
yeah,
but the sense of, I can be bald and not have to hide this and not wear a wig or something like that. And sort of, and many Black women who had lost their
yeah,
hair or whatever were having to wear
no,
wigs or
absolutely, yeah,
whatever. She's saying, I can exist as myself, which is not quite the same thing
yeah.
as Cinema's sort of constant cosplay and being, I remember her moderate colleagues, so-called moderate colleagues, Murkowski and Collins, defending her against the nasty Black lady, in their view, Roxane Gay, who had criticized Cinema. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, how dare she come across, just the faux feminism from those three.
Can someone take care? I don't know. Can someone make that person go away? I can't really do it with my phone. Thank you, whoever did that. But yeah, no, I get it. If I were a senator, I don't think I would dress the way that I do. Of course, no one would hire me. Like, I wouldn't be a senator. That wouldn't, I
Yeah.
don't think that's in the cards for me. Um,
Marjorie Greene was elected. Isn't there a
to be fair,
district,
yes.
at least a Congress? Is there some district you should go to? That should be maybe our test for 2024, is to find the district that's most suited for you, that you could most easily win,
No.
and I think people would be very pleased. uh
Oh, Lord.
I think Robin's point is that Bobert, as much as we find her repulsive, represents a significant portion, like she is among them. And I think you're saying, Robin, that there is not a significant
No. I've
Robin
never been under
electorate.
the impression that like there are vast amounts of people who go around agreeing with me. I'm generally surprised when anyone does. Like, this always comes as a surprise to me. I'm like, I'm alone in my ideas. Which I have like the opposite thing that they have, which is, I don't know, maybe not good. This is the thing, like a lot of people who are very wrong assume that everyone agrees with them. And so I never want to be one of those people. So I'd rather go the opposite direction and be pleasantly surprised whenever anyone agrees with me.
Yet I don't know if it was possible, even if you had run for governor or senator in Florida, to have done worse than Charlie Crist and Val Demings did. What happened? And I'm putting this out there, everyone. I was talking to Liz Dye at Wonkette about this as well. And her sense was they just ran terrible campaigns. But I mean, these are woodshed. Rubio winning by 16, 19, DeSantis winning by 19 points. And it seemed like, and this is something, again, I feel like people are ignoring. There's focusing more on Mandela Barnes, who I'm annoyed with for having
Mhm.
lost so narrowly. I'm open about saying that, but they're like, okay, well, all his problem is he was photographed near Ilhan Omar, and so that's why he narrowly lost. And it was fine, you could say that, but he was in the ballpark, right? Like he was within a point, but no one has been in like because there is no convenient narrative for why Charlie Crist, former Republican, now Democrat, clearly a centrist,
Well,
filed
because it's
deming
like,
pro
yeah,
cop. They got their asses kicked, and no one was kind of like, okay, well maybe this sort of either centrism or a model, hey, we got a cop can actually carry the day. I mean, I still people seeing that with Ruben Gallego, who I
yeah.
love, but their idea is that, oh, he's a Marine, so Republicans going to love him. And I don't know how often we have to see this. We saw
That's,
this in
it does
Texas or whatever.
actually
They don't
happen.
care. They literally, if you're a Republican, you could run actually as a former Al Qaeda terrorist.
Yeah.
But like, I hate queers and blacks and, you know, bad CRT and close our borders. Yes, I am a terrorist. I used to be a terrorist, but isn't a real problem that trans people exist and gender affirming care. That candidate would probably get all the Republican votes, and you could put forward the most moderate, respectable Connor Lamb looking former, you know, military. Like this idea is
I
just
think
so
that
weird.
must be an idealized idea of what Americans like and go for. I really do. Like, I think that there are people who are like, wow, Americans, they love this Blue Lives Matter stuff. They love wars. They must love cops and military people. Fuck no. If they didn't love military people so much, we wouldn't be having the wars. But in the first place, like we wouldn't be like, hey, let's go kill these people. But no, there's this. I think it's this. They want to believe in an America where these things are valued. They want to believe in an America where, you know, the candidate that is like, I'm basically a Republican, but not crazy. Or I'm a Democrat, but will say absolutely nothing about social issues and pretend that economic issues are not also social issues, but also never mention economics because talking about economics is also bad.
Well,
and possibly racist.
And to go to that point, you know, if 2004, right? So,
Mhm.
and it's not sort of the party that chooses; it's often voters. I think voters. It's a cycle, right? Like you know, the party and the media tells voters things, and voters process it. So I think it's sort of symbiotic. But in 2004, there's the idea that the way to counter Bush was someone who could fight Iraq correctly, because God forbid you run on, this is a bad idea. We weren't there yet. That was with Obama. But in 2004, this idea and so of course it's Kerry who is, you know, he's formally served. And of course he got Swift voted, but also as a candidate, it was like, wow, it's like you've got this kind of northeast guy, like it's like you just got George H.W. Bush, but he's a Democrat in certain ways, but on a human level, that's how he's reading. And no one looked and sort of, well, despite essentially spending 4 years being pissed off by the whole want to have a beer with Bush idea and thinking, okay, well, maybe let's go with a candidate whose voters might like.
I will tell you forever, I think Kerry won because he looked like he could literally be on currency. Like he looked like that is an old-timey looking president. Like they were like that guy, because you know they were very obsessed with the whole like presidential thing.
He was born in the West Wing, Robin.
Like no, that guy, like you could look at his face and be like, yeah, I can see you on, you know, a dollar bill of some kind. Like that's what you could picture him on Mount Rushmore. Like he has a face that could be carved in stone very easily. And I really think that was a huge part of it. They were like, this guy looks like he should be a president. Therefore, people will elect him to be president. No. I absolutely believe that's a huge part of what it was. I will stand by this.
Yeah. I was dating a woman in 2004. We had sort of boredom chicken with Kerry's acceptance speech because we felt like we should watch it, but we kept being bored, and we're kind of like, well, which one of us is going to try to initiate just ignoring this and fooling around? We both want to just fool around and not watch this, but we feel like we should as responsible late 20 somethings watch this, but I will
You
not
are such a
reveal.
nerd.
I will not reveal the winner of Boredom Chicken. You can guess who folded first, and I want some support that
I
I did not.
very much believe it was the woman. Like,
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. That 20 something me or almost 30-year-old me was sexier than watching John Kerry accept the 2004 Democratic presidential nomination.
I mean, I'm trying to find an inanimate object within my grasp, but I don't really have anything good. I mean, I've got some really good knickknacks over there, but my arm isn't long enough. So
Yeah.
like,
But yeah, the cops. The idea of cops just aren't going to win. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Michael's in Georgia now, not in Florida, but he has some obviously members of Florida. But that ass kicking, the fact that we don't hear about it, and again, if they had been, I mean, Gillum was accused of being too liberal, and he had obviously other problems, but he narrowly lost to DeSantis.
Yeah.
And granted, DeSantis was the incumbent, but he had spent 4 years being an overt fascist, not leading in any way from the center, as Democrats are always told to do. Like if a Democrat had narrowly won a quote unquote swing state, they would have led totally by the center. And the idea that he was leading and he somehow expanded his majority, and you have certain people being quoted because he flipped Miami Beach, and some Latinos were saying oh well, he's got Latino men were saying he's got the Spanish version of balls, I guess. And I don't it's horrifying, but it's not something to talk about. I feel like what was compelling to me was so quickly a lot of people were like, okay, well, because we can't see any, if Demings and Christ, these wonderful candidates, lost, that's it for Florida. Same with Tim Ryan. No one would dare criticize Tim Ryan's strategy, even though he alienated, he was basically, Trump did good things, and I don't know if Biden should run again because he's old, which I apparently just noticed. He did no better than Biden, still lost, but everyone after that, it's like, oh well, those guys did as well as could be expected. Ohio and Florida are irredeemably red.
Yeah.
Whereas if we'd run kind of progressive candidates in either of those spots and they'd lost even by the same amount or less, it would have been affirmatively, well, we screwed up and we can't do this again. So it's just sort of I find
it. There's the assumption that the only reason people might not vote for a Republican is because they're tacky. Like, oh no, people like what they are after. I think there's very much. I think it's partially insecurity, but partially the people who are running these campaigns are they're rich people. They're rich people who hang out with other rich people and are what other rich people would like is Charlie Crist.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And they think that that's going to be better than Nikki Fried or that sort of. It's just interesting. I've always pushed back. There's sort of a tendency from some on the left to say there's no difference between sort of the Romney or even Reagan era Republicans with the sort of coded dog whistles and Trumpism and Martin Taylor Greenism. And to the extent that certain policies are still being promoted that are terrible, and they've been promoted as terrible all along, and whenever Republicans talk about Republicans having a big tent and promoting equality for all, that's all bullshit. I get that, but when living in a racist world, it's bad enough trying to live in a racist world. I don't need someone yelling racial epithets at me all day. So if it's a world where when someone dismisses, oh, you're just saying the quiet part out loud, that sucks. I'm fine. Look, if my neighbor is just kind of it's the good place where has to say, she can't say the N word. She has to say, Black person. That's actually still better than this overt, because who wants to live like that? I don't need that. So that is worse. We've gotten worse. And I think when people there's no kind of nothing's better they're openly and honestly racist, especially because it's not like they're doing phenomenally worse politically as a result of that. So
I think part of Trump was that they realized, we can say these things and be fine.
And that's fundamentally worse. And again, as awful as Liz Cheney has been and probably would have been, continued to be had she remained in leadership and promoting policies, yes, it does matter if she's not going to put a bomb in Pelosi's car or something. It's especially
really, the bar is just very, very low.
Yes, well, just not getting whacked, to the agreement of the gentleman gangsters from the that's here's the business rules or whatever, that we're not going to whack you.
A thing I've actually seen.
Yes, as a political writer,
watch The West Wing eventually. I'm really not looking forward to that. I tried to watch Ally McBeal recently because I was like, you know what? I'll see what this even was, and it was horrible, and I was angry for days afterwards.
Ally McBeal was very much of a time, and I would never recommend watching it if you weren't of that time.
Horrifying.
What's your thought on it?
Lawyers being like, what's actually totally fine is sexual harassment. That's great. Everyone's making such a big deal out of all this sexual harassment. Sorry. I'm a little, going off topic, but yeah.
Yes, I mean, Ally McBeal was awful, but it was of its time. It's 25 years ago. And this goes to my own theory of if something's currently doing harm, call it out. But there's no a thing of where certain people will be like, this movie or TV show is so terrible and sexist and awful. It's you're the only one talking about it. It's not even on Netflix. Why are you talking? A lot of people I will see doing this online, and it's I don't know. I hate parade rainers, I guess. Maybe I got that from Barbara Streisand, but it's don't do it. Don't just why if someone's enjoying
tell me not to live, just sit and putter. Life's candy and the sun's a ball of butter. Don't bring around the clouds to rain on my parade. Oh my God, my voice is gone today.
It's a very tough song. Have you downloaded the new the cast recording for the new revival? Yes. I did that a while back. I just love the fact that the original never existed. It's the first cast recordings of this lady. This lady's the one at Macy's, at Macy's, the new person. It's astonishing. But yes, she's obviously better at the part that involving singing. I mean, she could be a terrible human being, but for the part of I'm giving $100 to sit and watch someone sing. Unfortunately,
they should at least be good at singing.
I'm gonna have to go with the good at singing. We're not gonna hang out. We're never gonna hang out afterward. That was not part of the exchange.
Yeah.
So I just want someone who's good at singing. Yeah, I don't. Christmas is coming. What's your normal kind of routine or ritual for this is a week from now?
Well, we're not really kind of doing that. This year we are going to Florida, because that's where my dad is, and my dad doesn't want to be in Rochester for Christmas because we have our reasons, and so we're going down to Florida again this year. And I don't know. I prefer a snowy Christmas, but
the last time you were. I think the last time you were in Florida and we did this, it looked like you were in a green screen. It didn't seem the background did not see. It was so Florida. It did not actually seem real. Well, enjoy. I was
also wearing a caftan. It was because I'm that festive. I did. I also had COVID for Thanksgiving. It was really unfortunate. I'm still very tired.
It takes a while to bounce back. You never got the coffee aftertaste problem, though. Hopefully,
no. Coffee is still delicious.
Good for you.
Thank goodness, because I don't know that I would be really sad about not having coffee. So what are you doing, and why haven't I seen the Santa pics yet?
They're actually very
So
nice.
freaking cute. Like, so freaking cute. It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
I will send you. I'll send you some after the live of our Santa pics. He's actually a very good Santa. And
A+ Santa-ing.
he's an A+ Santa-ing. Yeah, let's see. So we did already. We've done Santa. There's a certain thing called in Portland, Oregon, called the zoo lights. So you can see that they decorate the Portland Zoo, and you can take your car and go through, which is great. And then next week we'll probably do like the roadway or speedway in Portland. They also deck out, so you can kind of drive around and see the lights. That's wonderful. The kid loves that, and my dad will go down and he enjoys that. And then our Christmas Eve ritual that's developed is that this is my plug for the Portland Playhouse here in Portland, which I'm on the board of. They do a Christmas Carol every year, and so we see that as a family on Christmas Eve, and then we come back, and my wife gets Gold Belly. Through Gold Belly, she gets lobster rolls from one of our favorite places in Maine, and we have like a lobster roll dinner with another family who we really enjoy, and yes, and so that's our Christmas Eve. And then my wife, as instructed, will make these wonderful holiday sweet rolls that I then will have one of them fresh piping hot with a large glass of brandy, and we'll close.
Oh God, you literally are Frasier.
And then I will close the door.
I have never had brandy in my life, so.
And then I will have that. It will enjoy that while watching the Christmas episode of The Avengers called Too Many Christmas Trees, which I have watched since I first saw it as a teenager in 1990. So it's my annual Christmas tradition. And then I will go to bed, and then Santa will come. Actually, it's not Santa. It's my poor wife will do.
No, she does it. Not you.
I help since I can, but I can't wrap stuff for crap. Like the stuff winds up looks like it should be shot like an abomination to God. Like it just looks distorted. But all my wife's stuff, I usually get pre-wrapped, and I pay for the wrapping, have someone wrap them, and so it looks pretty under the tree. My son keeps having challenging ideas of what he wants. So this year he wants a Santa scavenger hunt. So all the stuff hidden around the house, because he's sort of combining the fun of Easter.
Yeah.
With
Christmas, I like it. I like it. He's ambitious.
So,
does he still believe in Santa?
Yes, he's
literally instructing Santa on like how he wants Santa to arrange. I like this.
He says, yes. He apparently also wants. He just told me he wants. He's big into dinosaurs. He realized now he wants some caveman figures to fight the dinosaurs, which of course I explained that they did not coexist. But he also wants cavemen and ninjas. Which I guess if you already have cavemen fighting, why not have ninjas?
Yeah,
but it's both cavemen and ninjas to fight the dinosaurs. So that's a jam-packed holiday. And then I guess
that is a lot. Yeah, no, I mean, we're probably gonna do the feast of 3 or 4 fishes, because like 7 is too much. We're 3 people right now, so.
And then we'll be back on the 26th apparently for coverage of Happy Hippo Thrills the Nation, because nothing will happen.
We'll just sing.
Nothing happens. So it'll be Happy Hippo articles, and then maybe someone will. You don't want anything to really happen on 26th. It's newsworthy because it's usually terrible. No one actually plans anything newsworthy.
Yeah, so it's going to be something really messed up.
Yes. So
if it's happening on Boxing Day,
I will have a headline that is Happy Hippo Thrills a Nation, and just that is just going to be the headline, and that'll fine, because ultimately that's all that was going to happen. And then I think New Year's we're having some folks over because we'll still be in town, and we'll do what middle-aged people do, East Coast New Year's on on the Pacific timeline. So we all cheer at 9 p.m. and watch the ball drop, and then don't have to stay up till midnight because that's way past our bedtime. We're because we're boring people. And you will probably party hard and
I'm going to be in Florida, so no, there's like not one freaking normal bar within like miles and miles of where my dad is. Like there's just not one single normal bar where you go and there are just like normal people hanging out. It's all like either like it's like one end of the spectrum or the other. It's either super fancy or like just cheesy as hell, like, and not in like a fun way. It's very,
How far are you from any of the major cities?
Pretty far, I believe. But you know, I'm also bad at geography, so I don't know. We're in Bonita Springs, which is like there's just truly not a lot to do there. So I will probably just hang out with my sister, and like watch the Twilight Zone.
Yes, so. That is I tend to like to watch Twilight. That's my New Year's Eve ritual as well. Yeah.
What's your favorite Twilight Zone?
It rotates. I think it's hard to place on one specific one. It just always depends on the roll of dice which one I like. I was referencing yesterday, of course, It's a Good Life with the that we tend to reference a lot because I think
it just comes up all the time.
Yes, I think
it feels continually relevant.
All the classics I think are classics for a reason. So I think there's the one where the guy commits suicide. He's been driven to suicide by the horrible capitalist society as a stop at Willoughby.
Yeah. I love this. That's one of my favorites. Yes.
It's really, really brutal. Like, because a lot of those are just like, no, this is just it's 1960, and you're watching a man driven to suicide because of his job and horrible suburban life. It's hard to dress that up. He's just fantasizing about just ending it all. But yes,
my favorite is the one with the kids in the pool, and like they have like terrible parents, and they like dive into their pool and go to like a different land with like a hillbilly grandmother lady, and she like gives them food and it's nice, and then they like go back for a minute, and their parents are still being terrible, and they're like, "Fuck you, parents, we're leaving for good." It's super messed up, and I love it.
Yes, but that's the
old lady is like someone famous. I want to say it's Lillian Gish, but I don't think it is. I might be thinking of something else, but it's someone like that. That one's my jam, just because it's like so truly messed up. Like, hey, children, leave your parents because they are bad. This is the moral of this story. Something like the wishing, not the wishing pool, something like that.
The witching pool, I believe. So Christmas Eve movies are Charlie Brown Christmas and then Elf. So thank you. And what's interesting, I think my son and wife are about to go see Elf. It's being performed at the Oregon Symphony.
Oh.
And so they're going to live, the soundtrack. The Charlie Brown Christmas, interesting. A good friend of mine, their family tradition, I think my wife's as well, was that is a Thanksgiving evening show, and then that kicks off the holiday season. Watching a Charlie Brown Christmas. Except my son kept delaying it, so now we're going to have to watch it pretty late tonight. If we have to see it, otherwise Christmas doesn't happen without a Charlie Brown Christmas. I had someone who suggested online, they were sort of mansplaining how Christmas is not has become very secularized, and said that Charlie Brown Christmas is essentially a secular special, which is kind of absurd since it sort of stops in the middle and starts talking about Jesus for like 5 minutes. So I just found that. But
it's way more Jesus-y than like Rudolph or The one I like that I can't think of the name of. There's the one where the elf wants to be a dentist.
That is Rudolph.
Is that oh, that's right? But no, then there's the other one with like the I'm Mr. Heatmeister. That one. I don't know which one that one is, but I like that one. It's messed up.
If I pretend I don't know it, will you sing more of the song?
I'm Mr. 101. They call me whatever I touch melts. I forget the rest of it.
That is Year Without a Santa Claus.
Right.
And with Rudolph is interesting because it has a very off model Santa Claus, and he is, of course, his Mrs. Claus keeps demanding that he eat, Papa, eat, which is what I think I always like to say around Christmas. He's trying to. No one wants a skinny Santa, and she keeps forcing him to eat.
Like my nanny.
And then there's the very hippie 1970s Santa Claus is Coming to Town, narrated by Fred Astaire, where
yeah.
And that has this whole trippy scene where Mrs. Claus trips acid and sings this song that stops the show dead. Like, it's just, she's singing about being in love. I think if you've watched it in syndication, they always cut it, much like that Muppet song where the woman sing that also kills the vibe that they cut. But I was watching, of course, I have the full thing, and we watched it. It's like always, oh my God, this song. I think to the point that it ruined it for my son. The Meister Burger is my favorite from that. And he has a scene where he's like, it's a perfect day. Everyone is glum, which I always like to say sometimes in Portland weather. It's a perfect day. Everyone is glum. So I think that covers all the Christmas specials you could possibly watch.
Yeah.
We already watched.
I mean, the Doctor Who ones, but you know.
Yes, Chibnall, among his many wonderful choices, creative choices that he made, he stopped the Christmas specials with the idea that there was, what can you do with Christmas except, I mean, in theory, it's limitless. I mean, aside from just setting at Christmas, you can always, the whole idea of, you know, spirit of Christmas and all that. It's, and the idea of like, also you have a great audience for that. And doing New Year's Day specials where no one is really, you're hungover and you got to get the kids back to school. You got to go to work the next day. It's like, what do you do?
No, I love my Doctor Who Christmas specials. That I find them very comforting.
RTD, the incoming, returning, Davies, he's bringing those back, and I'm very excited. He also revealed the new costume for the 15th Doctor.
Oh my God, I haven't seen it yet. I'm very excited.
Go see it online. It's awesome. It is really cool. He looks great. What is your favorite, before we leave, what is your favorite Doctor Who Christmas special?
Oh my gosh. It's hard to choose. The David Tennant one with oh my gosh, I'm trying to think which. There were a couple of them. I don't know. Hold on. I have to like look up the actual names because I'm not good at remembering names of things.
Well, while you do that, I will say my favorite is, from a nostalgia point, Christmas Carol, the first Matt Smith one, because my wife and I literally
that was adorable.
We literally saw it in London on Christmas Day in our hotel room. So
you mean, is that the one where the guy keeps the woman in the like freezer?
Yeah, but
okay, I like
not
the one
as creepy as you. It's not as creepy as you make it sound. Is that the one where the guy keeps the woman in the freezer? Yes, but that is true. That is the one.
Yeah. Runaway Bride. Okay, yes.
Oh yes,
Catherine Tate.
The first
who
one
is like
Donna Noble, who's
my queen. I'm so happy that Donna Noble is coming back. Like and of course David Tennant, who I love. People really were not nice to Catherine Tate, or I don't like the anti-Donna Noble people. I have to say Donna Noble remains like kind of a favorite because I assume you look like you're disagreeing with me, but
I agree. I think she's she's
actually funny.
I eject. I believe she is. Well, I don't like to say the best fitting. What do I know? It's all personal opinion. She is my favorite of the companions.
Yeah, because
I
at least,
love their banter. It was sort of like I don't use a trope of a married couple, but it was
but it was also like
immature.
she wasn't like in love with him, like,
Well, yes,
which was like got sort of tiring after a while.
it was just more mature because I think if you can get, and again, to go back to the Avengers, which I have in our thumbnail pick, the kind of married couple vibe is often
Yeah,
more mature and can be romantic and can be fighty, but like I love that vibe more of this couple's been together, whatever, than sort of the crushiness of fawning, that
yeah,
early stage of crushiness, which is what was Rose and 10. It's just not interesting to me. And of course, unrequited love like Martha
yeah.
and the Doctor is less appealing as well. So I mean
Like
that was sort
Amy
of,
and the Doctor, like,
yeah, I mean, they tried to spin that more of where he did keep himself at a distance and sort of viewed her as a kind of
yeah,
like a granddaughter, because despite appearances, he's
super old.
old. So his approach was kind of like, you're my, like a granddaughter, sort of. And then of course, River and the Doctor is great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
River is great.
but
More
yeah, I mean,
River, please.
as a person picked, Donna is wonderful and some of my favorite episodes, and just really Catherine Tate is wonderful, and I'm delighted to see her return. That is a true Christmas miracle.
Yeah,
So there is no Dahmer Christmas special.
no, no.
Someone just asked. Merry Christmas, Robin.
Yes. Happy
And
holidays. Just so I can war on Christmas it for everyone.
yes, I will pretend. So I mean, I'll see you tomorrow, and then
Yes.
but for everyone else, Merry Christmas, and catch you.
Yes.
I guess
After the Christmas.
New Year's Day is also on a Sunday, so you might.
Oh yeah,
might
no,
be
it's gonna be,
here.
you're gonna miss us. You're gonna cry probably a lot. Wait, what? You have to say the thing. What's the thing? I don't know what the thing is. Oh, who knows? Mary Marianne.
Who knows? We'll find out. Let him know.
All right. Bye,
Like, share,
guys.
subscribe. Bye bye.